And hopefully we are live. We'll soon find out when this just disappears and we have essentially just the streaming starts floating round and round and round. But it's great to say, welcome, Yeambele. How are you?
I'm very good, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm a little bit tired. First day back teaching today, and then off swimming with the
Yes, I
kids.
forgot.
And luckily, though, I've still got energy to talk Arsenal because that is what we're here to do, and I've always got
That's
energy
always
for
a
that.
good thing.
Especially, I will mention this. You have to mention it
Uh,
after Liverpool finally dropping some points and against United of all teams. So.
I was just watching that game yesterday, going when Lissandro Martinez scored, I thought, nah, it's way too early for that. And then obviously they equalised, and I was like, nah, that's it, job done. They'll go and smash and it didn't happen, and I was like, no, this is a terrible United side. How are they doing this? And yeah, do you know what? It was the first sign of proper fallibility from Liverpool I've seen in a while, because they did not look good. It wasn't a case that they were great and United were playing amazing. They did not look good at all. They looked completely off it. And Trent, obviously, I do think he's off. It does feel like he's
Yeah.
leaving, and he definitely got cooked yesterday.
I mean, I think sometimes the narrative is a little bit over the top with him and his defending, but I mean, you've got a hammer on the nail. Then it's just unbelievable. The fact that he was walking at points when I think he put a real loose pass in, didn't he? He just walked. I couldn't believe it. And now there's this. I loved it. So Alex from the Canon podcast and Different Knock put out saying, I don't know if this is true, but everyone spread it. And I'm not usually someone to jump on the bandwagon, but I am going to for this. The fact that apparently there's arguments. There's a bit of a rift in the Liverpool camp about Trent wanting to leave. They don't want him playing, and I'm all here for it. We'll wait and see.
I am
If
as
that's
well.
true.
Who doesn't want a good bit of argy-bargy, to derail a potential title, our title rivals? That's what. Look, we have to hope with Liverpool that there is some fallibility, because they've been unbelievable. You can't. I don't think any Arsenal fan can say otherwise, because it has been a phenomenal first half to the season. But now we're going to start seeing the second half of the season and what will happen, and who knows? I mean, again, we can talk about it, but we've got to believe, because it's happened to us. Last year we were at a similar position, and then all of a sudden, City came up on us. We can do the same.
Yeah, 100%. I was chatting to Jack Devonport 2 days ago about it, and I felt so deflated. I couldn't do an instant reaction on the Canon podcast. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And then FK went live, and I thought, I'm going to quickly say something. Just vent a little bit, because I just thought maybe that's it. And then lo and behold, they dropped some points, and it's so funny, isn't it? Football, like, I think it really does show you how emotionally invested you can become, because we were just saying, off air about the fact that sometimes the discourse around football can just be completely, over the top, and it's hard when you have a season where you've been essentially decimated, whether that is by injuries, sickness, decisions against you, let alone our finishing in
What decision? What decisions go against us?
Yeah, are
What
we allowed
decisions
to
go
talk about
against
that? Are
us?
we allowed to talk about
I know
injuries now?
nothing.
But
Injuries,
when you
decisions, everything.
yeah, it's been a bonkers season. I think the worst thing is that if we were in this position behind City, I don't think people would be reacting in the same way. And that was me personally as well. I don't think I would find it as difficult. But seeing where City are, and the fact that it's Liverpool kind of leapfrogging us, you've got Nottingham Forest level in points now with us. Um, it's it just changes that narrative, and it changes your emotions, unfortunately. So it's going to be a roller coaster. I've said if I was a betting man, I probably wouldn't bet on us at the end of the season, and I hate saying that, but logically, it doesn't make sense. At the same time, we will be there by the end of the season. We're still going to be there. And it's testament to how good this team is. I mean, you were the one just saying it that we're 1 point behind last season at this time last season.
1 point. What we were lost. Yeah, what we were lost.
And then you look at all of the mitigating factors, all the variables that have gone against us. So unbelievable.
That's the crazy. That's the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing, though, isn't it? That this season we've had so many mitigating factors, refereeing decisions, injuries, yet we're still in the same position that we were last year. So it just shows you the progression of this team to win games. I think we can all acknowledge we're not going to. We haven't blown away every team. We have ground out some victories. Some of these games have been hard fought games, and we're winning by set pieces. But do I care? No, we're trying to win a title. I would go any way you can to win the title. It doesn't matter to me. Pretty football, set pieces galore. Give it to me. Just as long as we get 3 points each game, that's all I care about.
Yeah. I remember when Wenger was obviously mooted originally to leave the club. I still don't feel great about the way he left the football club, but that's for another day. But at the time when we were looking at managers, Simeone was one that I was looking at because the amount he spends, the fact that he's been able to go against the biggest clubs in the world, Champions League, he's done really well in as well, and it was I almost felt like same as you, just give me 3 points. At that point, I didn't care how we played, just give me 3 points. But I also kind of wanted the flip of. Do you remember when Wenger first came in and he had this real attacking philosophy, but he had the back four already? I felt bringing Simeone in could have done the opposite way round. He could get the defensive solidity, and ironically, I guess that's what Arteta's done. He's given us that. Given us the platform to now go and perform on. But we'll kind of get into the preview. So we'll have a little think. We've obviously got Newcastle coming up tomorrow night. Before we get started, how are you feeling about it? Good then.
The problem is, I don't know. I think every Arsenal fan is thinking, what team are we going to have out there tomorrow? Because that's the biggest problem. Look, on any other day, semi-final of a tournament, you'd be thinking our strongest team will come out and we will put on a good performance because that's what it usually is. But injuries, illness, we still don't know the status of this bug that's running through the squad because everyone thought Kai Havertz would be back for Brighton, but clearly not. So, and Martin Odegaard and Gabriel Martinelli, everyone could see they did not look fit. But Martin Odegaard's one was blatant. He couldn't even run.
I haven't seen him ever like that. It's a shame.
No, when he doesn't press, you're yeah. When your key presser is not pressing, then something is definitely wrong. So I'm more wary than ever because I think we all know what game we're going to get with Newcastle United. We're going to get a very physical and tough game energy-wise as well because Newcastle play a high tempo. That's their game, physical and high tempo, and they will take it to us. And they've had a day's rest as well, so I know they've got some suspensions, but I don't expect anything less tomorrow. But we have to get a win tomorrow because if you don't, then going to St James's Park with a draw or a loss, it's going to be a very hard ask.
And I could imagine it will start turning a bit toxic as well in that stadium. Unfortunately, the time. I really hope not, but it's. Unfortunately, I mean, we were just saying it as like old men talking about the internet, but it's so easy for the narrative to change, and we know that the media love nothing more than Arsenal being on a poor vein of form, and not getting the results. Do you remember when we started the league? What was it, a couple of years ago? We played Brentford, and we lost that game, and then we went on like a run of like 3 or 4 games not winning, and you could tell that just media were just eating it up. They loved it, and unfortunately, people just get fed certain narratives and run with them sometimes. But I hope, and I'm praying for a win. It's so silly. I was saying we've got to go strong for this. We have to go strong. Well, I mean, to be honest, when you've got a cup keeper who is cup tied, and then you've got pretty much your front three is selected for you because everyone's ill or injured. I think there's no other option. So there's no going strong. It's going with what you have available right now. So yeah, but let's have a little look. So we'll talk about Calafiori because we had a little chat about him. He's obviously said it's not the moment to think too much about the title. We need to focus on ourselves. How do you feel about him at the moment? Because Miles Lewis-Skelly has been unbelievable going into left back. I would say, however, Calafiori came out with possibly his best performance yet. Although we didn't, get the win. I think he was just fantastic. How are you feeling about him at the moment, like personally? And would you kind of keep him in the team for now, or would you kind of make the change with Timber coming back?
Well, I think Urine Timber will start at right back. I think he's all right. I don't want to have Party there with all due respect. I think he did okay on the weekend, but no, Party's not my right back for me. Um, Calafiori is my starting left back, but the problem is again fitness. How long do we keep? How are we going to keep these guys fit? The games are relentless. The schedule is unreal going in now. It's every 3 days. I think now
Yep.
we've got this game on Tuesday, United on Sunday, Tottenham next week in the midweek, which is unreal. It blew my mind when we were on a Wednesday. How did the North London derby get scheduled on a Wednesday of all things?
Madness. Madness.
And so it's not tomorrow, as you said, it's not, we can't rotate that much. And left back is probably one of the only places we can do that. But the question is would you put Miles Lewis Skelly, who, with all due respect, is still a youngster who is going to be going up against probably Anthony Gordon will probably play towards the right
Yep. Yep.
because that's what they did at St James's Park. They kind of modified their strategy a little bit to play Gordon to the right, and then I think it was Harvey Barnes or someone else
Yeah, I think it
on the
was.
left, and so that's going to be the problem, that we need Calafiori's physicality, because although he's not the fastest player on the pitch, his positioning is exceptional. I think he recovers very well. He's aggressive as well. You kind of need that aggressive nature against this Newcastle team, because the fact is that they're going to play one way, physical, as I said, and so you need those kind of players. And Miles Lewis-Skelly, fantastic player, but he's a technical player. I haven't seen too much of him in that kind of physical aspect. I think
Mhm.
he's shown in fits and spurts some good things physically, but Calafiori is my primary starter. But again, do you risk it, because he's come off an injury? He's only just come back from another injury. We are cobbling together the bare minimum what we can do, and I'm guessing we are probably going on cortisol injections, the usual kind of stuff, just to keep these players going, because it's I don't know how we can rotate anybody given the lack of depth that we've got. Probably the only changes that are coming is Kai Havertz coming back, and then where do you slot him in? Because do you take Jesus out or do you put him into the midfield? It's trying to fit something together that will get the job done, but bear in mind the games that are coming.
Yeah, and I think there are rumours that Miles had a sickness bug as well. So even whether he is like fully fit to do a sickness, that's another matter. I think Havertz is a doubt. He's still having problems with sickness as well. It's mad, isn't it? But like Calafiori, if we're kind of sticking on him, that first half against Brighton, he had most duels won, most take-ons completed. I think he had joint most tackles as well. Um, he's someone that we said it just before we kind of came on live, and he's someone to me that looks older than he is. I think people forget, bar Winery and Miles himself, Calafiori is like the youngest in our squad. He is a very young player, and he carries himself so well that sometimes when he does kind of jump in with his left foot, he is quite aggressive. And when he does get caught out like he did against Savio for Man City, I think sometimes people lambast him when really we should be thinking this is a player who's really growing into, not only growing into his own game, but like the left-sided defender, that's not a natural thing for him. I think he's probably more natural as a centre back. Um, and then, on top of that, he's someone that's had a huge injury. From what I had read, when he had the original surgery on his cruciate ligaments, they had said that they'd only seen it as bad as that in a motocross accident. And this is someone that came back really quickly actually from it and hasn't, touch words, had like recurring injuries due to that. So, I mean, the poor guy, in terms of his development, that must have been really, really hard for him to develop. So, he's someone that, I mean, he's going to be a fantastic player. I don't think there's any doubting in that. We just need to give him some time. And same with Miles. So it's not easy. Like Newcastle is not easy, and like you said, going in the North London derby is, doesn't matter what form is like. It is a cauldron, that game. So I mean, I don't. I mean, I feel for both of them. It's so difficult.
I think Calafiori for me feels like a player who will thrive more on these kind of games because this feels like his kind of game. He likes the aggressive nature. He feels like a proper Italian defender. You know, the one that
Yeah,
likes the duels. He's very much what Mikel loves, a dual monster, as he loves to call it. But the fact is that he seems to be someone who enjoys that kind of physicality, the argy bargy, all of these bits. And the fact is, against Newcastle for tomorrow, you do have to have that kind of height, aggressiveness, etc. Because it's going to be that game. Uh, no one expects Newcastle to come and play technical football. They are going to come hard and fast at us, try to score early, and try to blitz us because that's what their game is. That's what their MO is. They are it's always aggressive. It's always testy as well. They for the last couple of years. I don't know if you felt it, but there's a real tension between the two clubs at the moment in
yeah,
terms
I've
of
definitely felt that. Yes, yeah. It's I think especially when we had the
you know
Joel Linton incident.
every.
So unfortunately, it hasn't been fantastic. I'll just see if I can get Yeambele back. See if he's there. Um, I haven't got. Was he there? See if I can get him back. Oh, he's back.
Hey, can you
Yeambele.
see me?
Yes, you're straight back in.
Very good. Sorry about that. I don't know what's happened. Like I
That's all
lost
right.
you, and then it's very odd because I can still connect to the internet and everything. Everything's working
That's
fine.
so bizarre.
Just that
And
is.
there you were saying that you work in tech as well.
I know. Look, all my tech has failed me. All my tech has failed me. But well,
No, we're
obviously
just saying about
it's
the kind of the just the kind of I, how the games have been recently. I just said kind of while you were off. It's been so fiery. We had the Bruno Ramirez incident. We've had the ball. Was it in? Was it out of play? We've had even the Joel Linton push on Gabrielle. It's so many of these things. It's definitely changed. I don't think it was ever that fiery against Newcastle, but there's definitely a different type
I
of
think
rivalry now.
I think it's just as you said, those incidents have led to this kind of testy nature between the
Mm.
teams. I also think that Newcastle literally enjoy destabilizing other teams. That's their.
Oh,
It just feels
yes.
like their MO. They want to destabilize you as much as possible. If a good shove in the face will do it, then they're all for it. It just feels like that. Whereas we would want to play football and all that, but I think we've adapted. We kind of know what we're going to get, and then obviously these incidents have not helped the the discourse between the fans as well. I think we are, as soon as something happens, the opposition fans are always against Arsenal, and then we do the same. It's the standard kind of stuff. But again, it's going to be yeah. I can't imagine it's going to be a technical contest or a Newcastle sitting back. I think it's going to be fiery from the word go. I fully expect some yellow cards coming out quite early, and even for us, I don't think we're going to be the ones on the receiving. I think we're going to be giving it as well because we've got to.
Yeah, we have to. And if you look at like the midfield that we had for the last game, that's a pretty physical midfield in Marino and Rice. It was really interesting seeing Rice lead the press at points as well.
Yeah, it was.
And the defense for us, I mean, you're looking across, Timber will be in, he can be quite feisty. You've got Saliba and Gabriel, who are mountains of men. And then Calafiori, I would guess, will be the left back. Again, another aggressive person in nature. So in terms of our midfield and defence, they are going to be, well, they'll be up for the fight. They will be. They're not going to shirk away from it. I think maybe our attack is a little bit different, especially depending if Havertz is involved. But we have to be. We cannot play, especially at home, and let them dictate, physically how the game is played out. I think it's really important that we don't just match them tactically, but we match them physically on top of that. Yeah. But we'll see. And like you said, it's like Arteta is all about the duels, so it's right up his street. Let's be honest.
So who do you think will start the midfield now? Given that Timber is back, who would you start?
I mean,
in
I was
midfield?
going to come on to this. Let's go straight into it then. In terms of, I mean, the predicted lineup from the standard, I thought we'd kind of compare. So they've got Odegaard, Partey, and Rice as the midfield, and then Martinelli, Jesus, and Trossard. I would presume that is the team that we'll go for. Looking at it, I don't think you can bring Miles in for this game, especially if he did have a sickness bug. I think Havertz will make the bench this game. And we don't have any other options up front. So that will be. I was saying to Jack, actually, one thing I would like to see is, I mean, how disappointing is it? You got Waneri breaking a record for being the only Arsenal player under 18 to ever score 2 Premier League goals. And then he goes and gets injured for weeks. We don't just lose the second, I would argue, second best right winger in the world. We lose his replacement as well. Fantastic.
It just feels like everything is, it just feels like the football gods are just saying we're going to make it as hard as possible, for you this season. If you can do this year, you could do it any year. But the only question for me is Havertz. If Havertz is fit, I would assume Havertz goes into the starting lineup just to give someone a break, but I don't know where he'll play. If it's up front and Jesus maybe goes to right wing, because I have to be honest. Trossard and Martinelli do not look good on the right, and either of them don't look. I think Trossard was pretty much absent in that game on the weekend. I didn't see anything of him.
No, you just can't guarantee a performance from either of those players at the moment, regardless, even if they're on the left. You just can't. I think if it is that front three, I just hope that Arteta kind of plays in the same way that Pep used to, especially at Barcelona, where he said, you do exactly what I ask you until the final third. And then after that, when we enter that final third, then you have the freedom to express yourself. Because I think then, if you look at it, Jesus and Trossard both have experience as nines, albeit false nines. Trossard, Jesus, and Martinelli have all played on the right wing. I think they've all played on the left wing at some point as well. Just let them interchange. Keep Newcastle guessing, because we haven't entered the box well recently and we haven't been clinical around the box. I think maybe the best thing is to swap round, not be fluent throughout the 90, but just at points, ask them questions, change it. Can you deal with Trossard coming inside? Can you deal with Martinelli's directness and pace? Can you deal with Jesus dropping deeper? Can you just ask different questions of the defence. And the more I look at Martinelli, and I know he's been written off kind of by Arteta as a 9, I just look at him and he's such an instinctual player. I think maybe having him close to the goal at times would be a benefit for him, be a benefit for us. I mean, long term, maybe he's not a 9, but right now needs must. So I just like to see us do something a little bit more unpredictable, because that lineup, it's pretty predictable, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, would you make any changes to it, or would you expect any different?
I don't think I don't think I see anything different happening, given that's probably our best 11 you could put out, and you have to put out a good 11 during a semi final. You could, if you don't, then why are you in the competition for?
Yeah,
But as I'm like you, we need something. We need to show a bit more impetus in the attack because we looked really stale. And I know illness plays a part. Injury and illness played a part on the weekend, but it's worrying that we couldn't execute anything in the final third. As I said, Trossard was nigh on, uh, in disguise almost. He was invisible at the weekend. I barely saw anything of him in the second half. I didn't think he was even on the pitch because it's. I honestly, what was he there even? It just seems like for me, Trossard to me is more of an impact player. I always think that he does better off the bench. For me personally, I find he struggles when he's asked to go into the transition and get us up the field. I think he's better as a box player, in and around the box, getting his shots off and being that almost second striker. For me, Martinelli, I think Martinelli's had a hard time because he's been asked to do something that it doesn't feel like he's very used to, which is to be a touchline winger almost.
yeah,
Before he was coming in and cutting in onto his favoured foot and then shooting towards goal, shooting on sight. I rarely see that from him now. It's always go to the byline and try and come in. I don't know if that's an Arteta thing. It feels like it because obviously you've had Saka on the other side who does the cut in, and then you can't have two inside forwards because otherwise you're so narrow that it's easy for the fullbacks to push out. But it just feels like you're losing a bit of Martinelli's game effectively. That
yeah,
cut
100%.
inside and it, uh, and I think him and Trossard have the two best shots in the club. I think as a finisher, they're the two best, and you're not really playing to that strength really with either of them. I get it. The system has to. You have to have the system, but to your point, when when it was 1-1, I thought, come on, let's do something different. Let's just be a bit more expansive, etc., and try Martinelli to try and cut in a little bit more. But obviously, again, we're talking about we don't know the situation with players' physical nature and what they can do, how they're feeling. Can you imagine? When you feel rough, can you do much? Not really, and you're asked to play
No,
competitive Premier League football and go up against Brighton, who had 2 days extra rest and play to a high standard and try to win. And we did nearly, bar the referee.
yeah,
We pretty
yeah.
much we were about to not grind out. And I thought we had them under control until they the referee decided to intervene. I think we were holding our own.
Yeah, that second half performance was the problem. I think the first half I was happy. I mean, I looked at the lineup. You could tell as soon as that lineup came out, I could see Declan Rice playing in that right centre midfield doing the underlapping runs, and I thought there's a reason this is happening. You don't drop your captain and the leader of your press, as you said earlier. You don't just drop him. Martinelli
Yeah.
being on the bench, it really was a makeshift team, and I thought they did themselves proud because Brighton are a very good team. If you're not careful, they can easily put
Oh
some,
yeah.
they can put a few goals past you, and I think they did really well. In all honesty, just the second half performance, and it's just so frustrating because I think sometimes not only are I mean, we're a fantastic team at controlling out of possession. I'd argue we're like the best in the world over the last 2 years. Like statistically, we probably are. Um, and if you look a couple of years ago, we were so free flowing in attacking areas. And like you said, Martinelli, he wasn't really a touchline winger. He's not great with out-to-in runs all the time, as he's having to do. And you just have that in the back of your mind sometimes, I think. So why can't we do this? I look at the Arsenal squad there to choose from. I mean, bar Neto, I don't know why they've added Neto as he's cup tied. There's not many options. I mean, in all honesty, Havertz will be the only real option going forward. Apart from that, I mean, you're left watching.
Jorginho is a possibility because Jorginho against Newcastle has done well in that controlling aspect. So Jorginho for me could come into the midfield. It's a possibility. We always think, oh, it should be a physical midfield of Rice and Partey should be going up against, that team tomorrow. But obviously they don't have Bruno Guimaraes, who is a big, big part of their midfield. I think he pretty much holds their midfield together. Jorginho is very, very good at dictating the tempo, and you kind of want that in this game, that you want to be able to recycle the ball quickly and actually pincer Newcastle in. The only problem with that is obviously if Jorginho gets caught out by Anthony Gordon or Joe Linton. Joe Linton will literally steamroller over Jorginho. So it'll be interesting. I'm very interested to see how Arteta puts it together tomorrow, because given the Man United game, given everything, where do you feel the problem is where do we take our hand off the wheel a little bit? Because we're going into the semi-final of a League Cup, then you've got the third round of the FA Cup. We're close to a final. You've got a third round. Do you say, okay, look, you've got to be realistic. We're in the later. We should be in the later rounds of the Champions League, bar a complete capitulation, which I don't think will happen against Zagreb, but and Girona. But you'd think that we should be through to the Champions League later round. So that's one thing you can hopefully put in your back pocket. Where do you compromise the team? Because we can't hold. I don't think any Arsenal fan is realistic enough to say, yeah, we're going to be able to go up against every team with this squad and keep it together, because the injuries are just racking up. And so for me, if I'm Arteta, I would actually say you go with this game, put your strongest 11 out here, and then realistically you have to sacrifice the FA Cup. I'm not saying we should, but I think that's in my head, that's where the logic is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think when the next Champions League fixture is and the second leg of this. Let me have a little look.
The second leg is in February. The second leg of the second leg is in February, but that's sandwiched in between some pretty tight games. We've got Man City before that, I believe. So we've got Dinamo Zagreb on the 22nd. Then you've got Girona on the 29th. Straight after that, then you've got City 3 days later. And then you've got the second leg. So it's not exactly like we're sacrificing much.
No. I mean, we've got to just hope that essentially we're qualified in the Champions League against Zagreb. So then you can kind of try to rest and because we're in Girona, aren't we? I mean, you could play, obviously, you could play the youth team against Spurs because we're going to walk all over them. We know that. So that's all right. That'll be fine. Just play all the reserves. We'll have Heaven in. We'll have Setford in goal. It will be absolutely fine. Obviously, I am jesting. But I do hope we do walk all over them. There's just no rest.
I think he'll play the strongest. No, but I think he'll play the strongest team against Spurs because it's the Premier League. It's the North London derby. It would be a travesty if you didn't play the strongest team.
And how important that game is. Having played in that derby, he knows. But it's so difficult. I mean, you look and so we've got Newcastle.
And then Villa. We've got Villa 3 days. We've got Villa on the Saturday. It's not like it's this week. The next rest we'll get is after the Newcastle. Is after the second leg of the Newcastle game. You get 10 days after that. That's mental.
And then we come back against Leicester, don't we? So, I mean,
that is crazy. That's a crazy schedule.
We genuinely, I was trying to play devil's advocate the other day and saying, if you truly believe Arsenal are out of the Premier League, aren't going to win one of the cups, do the club just kind of say, no, we're not going to go big in January. We're going to stick to the plan. In summer, we'll get, but just looking at the fixture list alone, they have to do something in January. I know we weren't going to go and talk about transfer window, but simply because numbers wise, we are so short. We really do have, not quality wise, we don't have the thinnest squad, but in terms of pure numbers, we are so thin on the ground, let alone knowing that we have Ben White out long term, Saka out long term. I mean, Wineri, it looks like about 3 to 4 weeks now. So, I mean,
The
and
thing,
then you look at
the
some of the
problem,
other players and their injury records. It's,
but the thing is as well, if you look at the bench, even the bench tomorrow possibly could have one attacker on it. That is diabolical.
yeah,
You can't have that. Look. I know Sterling's on his way back, but unfortunately, I'm not of opinion Sterling's loan has worked particularly well. I think it's been abysmal. But it is another body. But the biggest problem with going with the January window, and I know we all want to sign somebody, is it is very, very, very hard to get your primary targets in the winter window and not pay double almost what you have to pay. It if we're going to sign somebody, I can't see us just signing somebody for the heck of it. Especially
yeah,
if we lay out the quoted fees, 50 million, 60 million, etc. You will want to go with your primary targets and players who are going to be there for some kind of term. Trossard, you look as the example because he came in for 30 million and he's done a job for a
yeah,
couple of seasons.
yeah,
But you don't want to have this short term kind of fix to for to try and alleviate this problem. You have to have someone who's going to be there in the long term because it's a lot of money. We're not a Man City or we're not a Chelsea where you can circumvent the rules and try and you know do these ambiguous practices to get money. We have to cut our cloth accordingly. We have some money, but if say a player is worth 50 million and they're asking for 80 million, I don't see us paying over the odds for players just
no.
because we're not that club.
I mean, we've kind of gone down this segue now, but is there anyone at the top of your list at the moment? I mean, reasonably. I mean, we could all kind of turn around and go, yeah, we'll just take Haaland off of City and we'll take Salah off of Liverpool. That would be lovely. But is there anyone that you kind of look at and think that's realistic? That would be the top of your list.
I think we want a striker, but I think that's for summer, and I think we all know the
Yep.
name that we want. But I think again, that's kind of going to be very hard to get him out of where he is, which is Alexander Isak. I think
Yeah, I was
he's a
going to say we might
superb
see him
player.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we probably will, and it probably won't be in the way that who probably will score. But the thing is that the money being asked for that is incredible, and so either he agitates the move and it kind of forces the issue, or
Mm.
we overpay, and that won't happen in the winter window for certain. A realistic signing, I would say, is a wide forward, but
Yep.
names. Semenyo is one that I quite like. I think he's unpredictable, and I think he's Premier League proven, can play the right left, pace, unpredictability, which is kind of what you need. We need that kind of unpredictableness in a player. Again, money is going to be the problem because how much is he going to cost? If we're talking upwards of 50 million, then where do you draw the line? Because 30 million for Trossard, I think, was good value at that point
Yeah.
for a Premier League proven player, goal scorer, 30 million, and you got him out. But if you're talking 50 million, then you're starting to border into that's going to eat into your summer fund. And I want a player as much as everyone else does. I think we're all desperate for a body to come in, but you can't compromise the whole ideology just because we're in a bit of a strife now. And it is a real problem we're in right now. Yes, but if you put a bandage over this, then we might be back to the days of at the end of Emery era, where it was Aubameyang, Lacazette, and we had all these players that we have to get rid of, and we can't get rid of them. Look at Tierney now. Look at Kieran Tierney, the injury-prone player who we can't get rid of, and now he's going on a free. It's not where we want to be. I fully accept that, but we have to. I'm not saying hold our nerve. I think that's an keep our powder dry, the usual cliches, but we have to be realistic. You can't go and spend silly money on a play. It's not FIFA. We don't play for. It's not FIFA, people.
Yeah, I think, like you say, looking at the bigger picture, I was chatting to Jack on, when was it, Sunday, and I said I think people forget. So right now, come the summer, we will need to buy another goalkeeper. I mean, it's our annual buy, so we have to buy a goalkeeper because Neto will be leaving and
We should not.
Setford will be.
We should not be spending 20 million. We should not be spending 20 million on a goalkeeper. I was honestly horrified at that point when we were at the end of the window when they were saying we're going to buy the 30 million
There is a
pound.
really good. I can't remember. I'll have to check later. There's a really good goalkeeper that's coming up on his contract for free. So there are deals to be done, but nonetheless, we will need to buy a goalkeeper. No doubt, we'll probably need a wide player. We probably need a number
Midfielder.
9, another
We'll need a
midfielder.
midfielder. We'll need two,
Party
possibly two, possibly
Jorginho.
two.
I mean, there are quite a few areas that we're going to need to address before next season anyway. So when people are saying, "Oh, just go and buy whoever it may be, Alexander Isak," okay. If you're saying, pay the money, that is going to be 130, 140, 150, possibly, and rightly so. Like, they have got 3 years on his contract. He is a player that is really, pulling up trees right now. The ball's in their court. They've got all the power in that deal. So, unfortunately, if we want to get him out, you're going to have to pay a lot of money, which means then for all those other areas, you're kind of then in the position where how do you get other players? Because for me, if I look at our left wing slot, ideally it would be like a Rafa Leao, but again, that is going to be 80 million, I would guess, for him. And then you go, okay, so you've talked 200 million already, and then you start going, right, goalkeeper, well, we're going to have to get someone on free. Our midfield now, okay, Party, yeah, what do you want for your wages? You still £200,000 for your wages? Or it's not as easy as some people think. And like you say, it's not FIFA. I wish we could go and just buy who everyone wants, but we just don't. Financially, we cannot do that. Albeit, I believe PSR is actually in a pretty good area for us, but we just don't have that financial muscle like some of the other clubs, unfortunately. While we're talking about Isak, so right now, head to head, I mean, I've put him up against Gabriel Jesus because in this cup he's our man. I mean, I never thought I would say that come the beginning of the season, but he is nonetheless. If you look at the stats, they're relatively similar, so which is quite nice in this cup. I was going to give you a little bit of trivia here. Can you remember, or can you guess, the last Newcastle player to score against Arsenal in 2 different games in a single season? It's a real left field one. That's a bit of a clue, but
Trying to think who. You know what? My brain doesn't function very well anymore. Go on, who is it?
it's Laurent Robert in 2001 to 2002
Laurent Robert.
season.
Jeez.
Yeah, going back some. So, I mean, I've probably jinxed it here, but history dictates sometimes that, maybe we can keep him quiet. I mean, he's on an amazing run of form at the moment, isn't he? But having said that, Jesus scored 6 goals in his last 5 games, I think, prior to us. But
The problem is the question is going to be is, again, Isak is a fantastic player. He does everything really well. He's not like a Haaland who is just goals. He can drop deep. He can run the wing. He's got everything, and he is, as you said, right bang in form. It's going to be very hard, but you've obviously got the 2 best defenders in the league as well. So
yeah,
I don't think we should be looking beyond ourselves as well. It's going to be a tough ask, no doubt, but we're at home. I think you can. There are ways to keep him quiet, but we should be the ones dictating the pace tomorrow. I'm all firmly of the mindset that we should be dictating everything and we should be the ones being the aggressor. I know we're injured. I know we're literally hanging by a thread, but we should be trying to get the goal, trying to get a first leg win, so that at least we stand ourselves in good stead. And as you said, Jesus is in form. He looks sharper. I think as well. He played a slightly different role at Brighton. You could see that he wasn't on the
Yeah.
shoulder as much. He was more dropping deep. So I think tomorrow, I get the feeling he will, depending on how we are line up, he'll be more on the shoulder, because I think Shah and who's their other defender at the moment? It's not Botman, is it? I think Botman's out
No,
again, isn't he?
Botman's out. Although is Shah available?
Hold on,
Um,
let's have a look.
yeah. So
Let's
Ramirez
have a
and
look.
Fabian Shah are both suspended for this.
So that's a big one, because it will be, who will be their defense then?
I don't know. I don't know who they have
Let me
available
have a
right
look.
now because yeah, Botman's got a knee injury, I believe. Um, so
Here we go.
it would be interesting to see who they have.
Let's have a look.
Let's have a little look. I mean, do they put Lascelles in? Is Lascelles available now? Lloyd
So what
Kelly?
they're thinking, so some Dan Burn, Lloyd Kelly will probably be their
Oh, of
centre
course, yeah,
backs.
Dan Burn.
So yeah, but Dan Burn is also pretty. I think he's regressed as well. I think that's
Mm.
pretty. And then you got Lewis Hall left back, Sean
And then,
Longstaff and Tonali in the midfield, with Jolinton, Jacob Murphy, Anthony Gordon, Isak. So again, it's still a physical midfield, physical
mhm.
team, but that defense is gettable. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think Lloyd
100%.
Kelly, Trippier is definitely gettable, because Trippier is. I think Trippier is coming to the end of his time at Newcastle. For me personally, I think
Yeah.
they're trying to actively get rid of him. But they've got Liramento as well. I mean, but Liramento's played a couple of games as well, and he's quite injury prone. But yeah, I mean, we've got to play for the win. There's nothing that you can't do but that. But it's a big ask. I mean, Newcastle have had a day's rest, extra rest, and it will no doubt be a very, very tough game. But as I said, you've got to win, go for these games.
Yeah,
It's a semi-final.
100%. Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? We just have to. We have to go for it. If we're, I think if we do start to stand off and just don't get me wrong, I do think we need to retain possession better, keep the ball, control, but we do have to be on the front foot because it could be. I mean, I can't imagine us scoring many goals in this game. I think it will be a kind of totally contested match, but we have to go on the front foot. We are at home. We're lucky that they're missing Bruno and Shah. So, the spine of their team is not quite the same as we're used to. And then essentially, you just got to be careful on the breaks. They're very good in terms of physicality and driving forward the ball, counter attacking. It'll be interesting to see if they try to sit deep and play us on a counter or if they just try to match us.
I don't think that. I can't see them sitting deep. It just doesn't
mm,
feel like Newcastle.
no, it
I think they
doesn't.
will go toe to toe with us, and it will come down to, can we outpass? If we can outpass them, if Odegaard is fit, and that's a big one, because without Odegaard, we lack any creativity. That's just the facts at the moment. Because Marino, I think Marino is struggling a little bit at the moment with the pace
Yeah.
of just the more intense game. So the Brighton game, I thought he struggled a little bit. Um, he does look like he's lacked a preseason. He's come back from injuries. I think he's a little bit off, just a slight bit off the pace. He's a good player,
Hmm.
but I don't think he's a world beater or anything like that. But he's a good player. Um, I don't think he'll start tomorrow either. I'll be very surprised if he starts. Um, but yeah, we've got to win this game. You can't
Yeah.
go to St James's with a loss to try and get that back, because it's such a hard ground to go
Mm.
to, and under the lights on a Wednesday night, the Geordies are going to be up for that. They're going to love that. That's their thing.
And they put the away fans like right up in the heavens, don't they? You're
They always
so
do that.
far
They,
away. You're so far
no
away. So it's
nosebleed, nosebleed. It literally is the most nosebleedy set. I've been. I'm lucky enough to have been there, and it is most nosebleed. It's an amazing stadium. I love
oh
I love
yeah.
Newcastle, but
I mean,
it
I actually
the
really
high.
like the Geordies. I love them. Like they're they're like a proper football
Oh,
like area. I went to university in Portsmouth. Portsmouth is the same. It's not on the same scale, but football engulfs the whole
yeah.
city. Um, I'm glad. I am genuinely glad that they are back where they kind of should be on the big stage. It was a travesty, a club their size with their history. I want to say actually, I mean, if you're kind of excluding the Intertoto Cup that they won, they're going to go on to about 70 years without getting a major trophy, which is unbelievable
Which is
for.
what. But that's why this one is a big one for them. This is the
Mm,
closest for a couple of years. It's a big one you know, uh, for them, and Eddie Howe needs something because
yep.
again, he wants to show some progress to the owners. The owners, obviously, you can see they've been reined in by PSR and their spending has dropped off. Everyone thought when the Saudis came in, that's it, game over. They're going to buy everybody, and it's going to be 100 million here, 200 million there, etc.,
Yep.
etc. It hasn't turned out that way. So Eddie Howe is trying to show, look, I'm still the man for this because with that kind of ownership, there's always going to be those kind of questions about, oh, is he good enough, or is there someone else they'd like to take a foreign manager, the flavour of the month, etc., etc. So this is the closest, and I can imagine Eddie Howe's literally going to go absolutely gung ho for this one. He may sacrifice the FA Cup even because what would you, again, back to my point originally, what would you do? You would take this one because you're closer to it.
Yep. Yep. I mean, did they get to? It was the last year, wasn't it? They made the final. Was it United? Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
again,
even
they're
more so is them.
the perennial bride, aren't they? In these things, aren't they? So they need to, they need to get a trophy. That town deserves one. I want to win trophies, and we've luckily enough we've tasted it for the in recent times. But I do feel for Newcastle. They deserve one, but hopefully not over us.
They can have a Europa League or something that we're not in. They just give them that or a little, won the
A
Conference
Conference League,
League, Champions
Conference League
League,
is fine.
Conference League.
Europa
That's
Conference League.
fine. They'll love
I
that.
don't care.
They can just do West
Exactly. It'll be like
Ham.
West Ham. It's West Ham, isn't it? It's like West Ham. Oh, it's the greatest trophy we've ever won. We've won Europe, haven't we? I always find that funny with West Ham fans. And
You
we've
know
won
what?
Europe.
That is a great idea. We let Newcastle win the Conference League, and then we take their best player like we did with West Ham. Best,
Exactly.
best for everyone. The players
That's
happy,
that's
we're
it.
happy, they're happy. It's amazing. There we go. That's the
Exactly.
plan.
Look,
That's the plan.
we've. Do you know what? Look, why are we not becoming the sporting directors for ours? We've got the plan
Could you
here.
imagine? Yeah, I've got a really good plan. We're going to let another club win another trophy so we can take their best player. Uh, let, let's go through predictions then before we finish up. Yeambele. Thank you by the way for your time because it's been amazing. It's so great to have a chat with
Thank you very much.
What I've done here, I've got from Stat News the last 10 matches between us and Newcastle. Opta have also gone with Opta have gone for a prediction of 63.1 in our favour, which I'm really surprised about. Maybe they haven't taken into account any injuries and stuff like Liverpool fans have for us. I mean, are you edging towards an Arsenal victory, maybe a draw? How are you looking at it playing out?
Hard one. I think I've got to put an Arsenal victory down because I have to believe. I it's going to be very hard. This is going to be the one that's going to test the team in terms of if some of them are still recovering from the tail end of flus, etc., whatever this virus is. You're going to be hurting, but you're going to have to. This is it. I think Pedro Legrove said it on the Latte phone last night. this is as close. You're getting close. Or is it dog? One of them said, "You're getting close. You can smell it. A trophy
Mm,
changes your season. You need it. This is if you don't. Winning a trophy can change everything. It can lighten your mood. It can change the whole thing in the squad, and it might give us the bounce we need as well to really push on this season. So you've got to go for it. I'm going with the first leg win,
score.
2-1.
Oh,
But
nice.
they will score. They will score. Look, unfortunately, we are conceding goals. And do you know what? I wouldn't put it past the referee to give a controversial goal again.
Oh,
Something controversial is going to happen. Because, look, I know I don't want to talk. I know it's been talked about so many times, but I'm so angry at the moment with just the state of officiating, particularly with us, because no other team is going to get officiated the way we are.
oh, maybe we should make a prediction of some stupid decision against us. Maybe we should do that as well. I mean, I was looking, so Newcastle have lost 12 of the last 13 away fixtures against Arsenal in all competitions since a 1-0 win in November 2010 in the Premier League. I mean, we are favourites, but I mean, I think maybe we scrape it. I think you're right. Maybe by one goal. I mean, I'm going to go with a 1-0 win. And I mean, I'll take it. Oh, 100%. 1-0 to the
Oh no, I'll
Arsenal.
take. I would take a 1-0 all day.
I
That
don't
would
know
be
if my heart
fantastic.
can take it. But
Are you
like you
going? Are you going
say,
tomorrow? Are you
I'm
going
not.
tomorrow?
I'm not going tomorrow.
I am. I
Oh,
am.
are you?
So I'm going tomorrow. So I'm gonna. It's
Well,
freezing
I hope it's
cold
a
as
4-0
well.
victory for you. So you just have a nice evening. And
I have been to Arsenal for many years, and I have learnt my lesson that I've had near heart attacks. I've been poured upon. I've watched Man United in the freezing rain, so I've experienced it all. So I'm expecting a real test tomorrow. It's going to be edgy and it's going to be nervy as well because that's where we are at the
yep,
moment. I think we're making mistakes. It from last year where we were ice cool in the defense, and it was calm. You knew what was happening. We are making mistakes, and that's just
yep.
part and parcel of when players are injured and teams are good. Teams are much better. I mean, Newcastle are so formidable. It's very
They
hard to.
they really are. I was having this discussion of whether the Premier League is better, the quality, or is it worse. I would definitely say, like, in terms of the bottom end of the table, the bottom half is so much better. You're seeing so many more upsets and things. If you look here, if you look at the most recent wins for Arsenal against Newcastle, we usually are one goal between us.
It's
There's
not
the
going to be. We're not gonna play them off the park because the
no.
factors just don't are not in our favor. We are crippled at the moment. We don't know what team is going to be put out there. Tomorrow it could be like four youngsters, and we'll be like, oh, oh well,
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean,
nice while it lasted.
we'll make it. And to be fair, maybe I'm wrong in terms of a 1-0 victory. Like you said, we are leaking goals. I've got so the you were the one actually on the Latte fan recently talking about the XG and how low the XG has been against us. I've got here, so we've got Mbuemo 0.06 XG, Sa 0.04, Jimenez 0.04, Emerson 0.09. If you look at them, the only two that are above zero point 0.1 xg were Mateta, which is 0.21, and Wampasaka, which was a 0.41 xg. It's bonkers. So for the last 9 goals, I believe it's 0.97. It's
It's
madness, barring the
but
penalty, obviously. But
no, but it goes to show, as I said, that I can't explain why, but we are making mistakes. I think we're definitely not as shored up, and I think that's also partly due to injuries. Declan Rice has been moved off. Partey, has been shifted as well. It's not the same as what it was. So we have no consistency. When have we been able to put a consistent team for 5 games in a row? I can't remember
no,
when we can do that. It's when was the last time? I can't. I don't think we have.
No, I really don't. Well, there was a really funny stat about Marino, Rice, and Odegaard, and I think they've maybe only played once together from
They've
starting,
only played once. Yep, they've
which
only
is
played once together.
madness, isn't it? And that was what I would say most people were guessing at the beginning of the season would be our starting midfield. I
But
mean, Partey's
that
really,
shows
really played himself into the conversation, but
I ha- he has. But last year we were the most consistent. We were the most reliable team. We had players always available. Everyone was available. This year it has gone complete 180. I have no clue who's going to play tomorrow because I don't know who's fit anymore. And
no.
Arteta won't tell you either. Arteta won't tell you either. He will keep it all close to his chest, as he loves to do that. He loves a little bit of the mind games around, who's fit and who isn't. Oh, Havertz might not be fit. Oh, look, he's fit. Oh, look, there he is. He's turned up.
There we go. I,
Yes.
regardless, we have to win this game. And we will. We will, Yeambele. We
Yeah, we
will
will.
win
We
this
will. We
game.
will. We will. Come on with the Arsenal. It's just Tuesday night, Emirates Stadium.
Easy work.
It's cold, but oh yeah, of course. Of course not. We're not going for a heart attack or near cardiac arrest or something like that. It's no, but I think we have to be confident still. We're still a very good team. We've got good players. We can definitely cause damage, and I still think we'll get a win from it.
Thank you so much for coming on. Genuinely, so I did say like 2 thank yous before we went on air, but I will say them live so anyone that is listening now or tomorrow can pick up on these. But genuinely, Yeambele was one of the first people to follow me on Twitter. I can't say X; it's so weird. I'm a boomer. I can't say that anymore. But you were one of the first people to follow me, show me support, and also obviously thank you so much for your time coming on here. Like the work you do, have done on Latte Firm. You've obviously gone up a little bit now with your promotion, and then going on the big time coming here on Forward and Football, and I know the pressure.
Look, it's only bigger and better things, we go on to the bigger, better things. That's that. As soon as TNT showed it, I just thought, bang. Alec called me. That's it. It's time. It's time to move on. Big things are happening. So no, but no,
Bye,
thank you
FK. It
very
was
much.
nice
I
knowing
appreciate.
you.
Oh God, I'm with him at the football tomorrow. He's not going to. I'm
Oh,
not
are
going to hear the
you?
end of it. Yeah. Me and him have been sitting together for years. We literally, we got our season tickets together. So it's.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So literally, if you look on the list, he's won. What is he? He's 23. If you look at our numbers, our season ticket 23. I'm 25. So we did our applications at pretty much the same time. This is when in the days where you could dream and get a season ticket. We waited on the season ticket list for like 10 years before we got ours.
That's
So
amazing.
in 2006 we got ours, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's been a long time, but yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate. I love talking about Arsenal. It's my joy. It's my joy. I love the club. No matter what happens, I will always love the club, and I find the whole kind of rhetoric of Arteta out, the club's terrible, etc. Come on, people, support your team. We're in the semi-final. Give it, get to the Emirates. If you can get to the Emirates, I know there's a lot of tickets. Get to the Emirates, support the club. Let's make it. It's a semi-final. Come on,
There's
we're not in a
big
semi-final.
possibility. This is going to be an amazing season. This is what people forget.
Come on, yeah.
This could be an unbelievable season still.
We're at the halfway point, people. Come on, just have a little faith. We are a good team, and there's so much football to play. If it was April, I'd say okay, fair enough. Things have happened, and it's January. Come on, we're not even in the first week of it, and looking back on it, a point at Brighton was actually not too bad considering where it was.
Yeah, 100%. If you haven't, please go and subscribe to the Latte Firm. Go follow Yeambele on X. I did it. He is at Verge59. A long story that Yeambele is not going to go into, apparently. But please show some love to him because honestly, he is one of the best analysts. He is one of the best content creators going, like bar none.
Oh, thank
he really
you
is.
thank you.
If you haven't, like and subscribe to Fodder on Football. I will say, I will do my own plug for once. Look at this. I never do this. So there will be, starting next week, a new live podcast with Jack Davenport. The name's still not decided, but you will see it. It will get promoted. So please make sure you check that one out as well next Tuesday. And I will be live on the Instant Reaction tomorrow on the Canon podcast, hopefully celebrating with Alex Moneypenny. We will wait and see. But fingers crossed, everyone. And thank you so much for tuning